Hi, I'm Andy Shaughnessy, content architect for PCEA. Here with me this afternoon on the PCB Chat is Tom Kastner. How are you doing, Tom?
Doing great, Andy. How are you?
Good. Tom is the president of GP Ventures, an M&A firm, and a longtime friend of ours. Tell me, how did you get into this? How does one become an M&A guy like you are?
Sure. So I used to work for a company called Hakuto, which they're known in the PC board industry because they make automatic cut sheet laminators.
Hmm.
And back in the 90s, we used to sell a lot of those. And at one point, I became the U.S. manager for Hakuto America. But at the same time, I was working with Hakuto to help them with investments and acquisitions. Hakuto is still around, and they're still selling plenty of laminators, some in the U.S., but mostly in Asia, of course. Um, and so I started doing M&A for Hakuto back in 1996. And then in 98, they sent me to the US. That was in Japan. I was doing that. And
Hmm.
then in 98, they sent me to Illinois near Chicago, a town called Schaumburg, to run Hakuto America. But I was still doing the M&A stuff. And then after about 3 years of that, we had the whole Y2K downfall. And so I got out of the PC board equipment distribution world and focused on M&A advisory, where I've been ever since.
Hmm. What do you have going on right now? What do you see happening, as far as trends?
We've done a lot of work in PC boards and EMS. Overall, we've done over 20 deals in those sectors. And we're currently working on several deals, both for sellers and for buyers in those sectors. And we're seeing a number of trends. I mean, for one, activity is just really through the roof. So there's an awful lot of interest on behalf of buyers who are looking for either PC board shops or EMS companies to acquire in the U.S. Much of that is driven by the reshoring trend.
Hmm.
A lot of it is the strong U.S. military budget, as well as data communications is very strong right now.
Hmm.
Um, and then two trends on the buyer side really is the amount of private equity money that's out there. It just keeps growing and growing. And then as kind of a subset of that, the number of individual buyers has absolutely exploded over the last, say, 5 years or so. These are individuals or small groups who have said, you know what, I don't want to work for a big corporation like my old dad did. I
Hmm.
want to buy, I want to buy something. And somehow not all of them are interested in PC board shops. I don't know why, but a small subset of them are interested in PC boards and EMS, and they're buying up a lot of the smaller companies. So there's some strong trends on or a lot of interest from buyers these days.
And now a word from our sponsor. Join the electronics design and manufacturing industry at PCB West 2026, coming September 29th to October 2nd to the Santa Clara, California Convention Center. Sponsored by the Printed Circuit Engineering Association, PCB West is the place thousands of designers, engineers, fabricators, and assemblers of printed circuit boards go for learning the latest in components, ECAD, and manufacturing processes. From drones to automated vehicles to wearables, there's something for everyone involved in the electronics supply chain. This is one show you cannot afford to miss. Registration for the conference and exhibition is now open. Be sure to book your spot. For more information about PCB West, visit pcbwest.com. Brought to you by PCEA, Engineering Tomorrow's Electronics.
Are most of the potential buyers for the U.S. shops, are they typically from North America or?
Yeah, at least 90% or so are domestic.
Mhm.
And that's probably true for almost any industry.
Right,
I mean, it's so much easier to buy a company within your own country.
right.
Um, but we are seeing a lot of interest from foreign buyers in both PC Fab and EMS. A lot of that is due to reshoring and the strong economy, and then a stronger enforcement of ITAR, perhaps an expansion of ITAR to say communications products and maybe others. So we're seeing a lot of interest from foreign companies. Now, typically, the interest from foreign companies is for larger shops. So whether it's fab or EMS, a lot of the large, if you're going to buy something from overseas, you want it to be fairly substantial. So a lot of them are looking for companies that are, at least say 20 million in revenue, if not 50 million plus.
Hmm. What's the most attractive characteristic of a target company? Is it the
Yeah,
size? Is it the technology?
one of the focuses lately, the last few years or so, has been on the team, because of course, given enough money and time, you can go out and build your own PC fab or EMS shop,
Hmm.
and on day one you would have a bunch of equipment, no people, no customers, and what do you do?
Right.
And it's so and it's the amount of talent that is available is a really difficult situation for existing companies, let alone if you're buying a company from overseas. So just about everybody we talk to, whether it's an overseas buyer or a U.S. buyer, they want to make sure that the company has a team, or that at least a fair portion of the team outside of the owner is going to stick around after closing the deal.
Hmm. I always just wonder if there are people who, have a look at, TTM or what pick the company name, maybe American Standard or Ace, in America, and saying, can't wait for, James Hofer or Ane Vardia to, to retire. I've got my eye on them. I mean, is that how it is? There's people walking around like, oh, I can't wait to get a chance
Well,
to move
there's
in there.
sure a few situations like that.
Yeah.
I would say for the most part, but most buyers, even if it is a TTM or Summit, or advanced PCB, they still want the owner to stick around for at least a year or two, maybe longer. Um, and that can be fairly attractive to a lot of owners, and most owners, when they decide to sell, they want to do something else, or they're just sick of all the headaches. And when you say headaches, it's mostly personnel issues, and of course all the daily little fires you got to put out. And so but if a buyer says, well, how about if we take away those HR issues for one, and we help you hire someone who will help put out the operational fires, would you like to continue? And a lot of owners say, oh yeah, sure, I'll take a big old Tylenol pill
Hmm.
and run
Right.
focus on the things I like to do, like solving technical issues or making good products, or investing in equipment. I mean, almost all owners, they love their toys. They love to buy machinery. So
Mhm.
if a buyer says, look, we're going to put some money in and we want you to help, select the equipment and help get it going, they love doing that. So
Right.
now, and of course, a lot of owners do want to retire and go on world cruises and things like that. Well, and it's surprising how many owners, like after 6 months or a year of relaxing,
Hmm.
they come back and say, I'm open to projects, because they
Right,
they
right.
miss that entrepreneurial sort of the title of, whatever title they had and, responsibility, but also they miss kind of the problem solving aspect of it and the creating and helping people, whether it's customers or others. A lot of them miss it, which again, for if they're selling to an individual, and that this of course is smaller companies, often they need to be on call, so to speak, to help that individual out,
Sure.
for years. Not
Right.
not that they're contractually obligated to it, and a lot of them love it. It's like
Right.
having an apprentice, and usually the buyer wants to keep the name, the legacy, and everything going, and to grow the business.
Right.
So that can be a pretty good experience for them.
But then you could just be the VP of whatever and stay on. Yeah.
That's right.
So, the one of the things everybody's wondering, how many shops are there in America?
So, and we've got a list, and we kind of keep it going on a rolling basis. But the last time we really sat down and counted, we had 146 PCB fabs in North America, of which, say, 12 were in Canada, so 134 in the US.
Okay.
And this is companies, so TTM is one and Summit is one. If it wouldn't be too hard to figure out how many facilities there are, but for our purposes, in M&A advisory, it doesn't really matter how many facilities there are, and that also makes it a little more complicated to count facilities. But I would guess there's probably an extra, probably 20 more facilities than there are companies. I don't know, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, are the majority of these, what would you say is the revenue or just size? Everyone,
Yeah.
are these like 10 million, $15 million shops? What are they for the most part?
Sure. And of course, we don't always know. We're kind of estimating. I would, but based on our estimates, and some of these are highly educated estimates, of those that have 25 million or more of revenue, we have 21 companies, and that's including Canada.
Right.
And then between 10 to 25 million in revenue, we have the same number, 21. It's just coincidence. And then under 10 million in revenue, we have 104. And I think that adds up to 146. Yes.
Okay.
So the vast majority, something like 70% or so are under 10 million. And I tell you, I mean, I go visit these from time to time, and I find out, there's just a warehouse in the back. There's no machinery anymore. So, it's awfully hard to trace the ones that are under 10 million. But, above 10 million, we have a pretty good idea, roughly about how large they are, and, that they're actually running and all that.
Right. And we know like the smaller ones tend to be operating at this much lower profit margin than, or is that still the case? I mean,
yeah, and generally that's true. Some of them are highly profitable, and that's typically if they are focused on a certain niche. But in general, the shops that are over 10 million and up are more profitable than the ones that are. And when I say profitable, I really mean percentage, of course.
Right.
Percentage of profitability, and of course the ones that are over 10 million are much more likely to be investing in nice equipment and in people and technology and training and systems and all. So, I think There's plenty of room for the smaller guys to continue to survive and grow. But in general, I think we're going to see a fair number of those smaller ones, get consolidated, mostly by the larger ones, or just sort of fade away, or something that's been going on a fair amount is they just decide, you know what, we're not going to make anything. We're going to go to an all distribution model, all brokering model, or they might do it in pieces where maybe they stop doing certain kinds of plating, or they outsource certain processes, and then eventually just say, you know what, let's just outsource everything.
Right,
So we
right.
have seen a fair number of shops go to that model where they're just brokering.
How about CEMs in North America? How are you? What sort of numbers do you have on that?
Yeah, well, that's a much bigger number.
Yeah.
And we really haven't sat down and looked at how many there are. My guess is somewhere around 900 PCB assembly shops,
Hmm.
but it could be 800, it could be 1,000.
Right.
I'm just not sure. And then, with fabrication, it's pretty clear whether you're making a board or not. Uh,
Hmm.
I mean, I guess it's not always clear if you're just importing them or not, but
Right, right.
whereas with EMS, you kind of have subsets of control panel focuses, or maybe wire harness focus, or there's others that they outsource all the PCB assembly and they just do box build or other sort of
Mhm.
uh, final assembly. Um, and so, it gets pretty complex. I mean, I think there's something like 1,000 wire harness shops in North America. Barriers to entry are kind of low,
Right, right.
and there's a big demand for highly specialized wire harness. And the amount of capex is, and you don't need environmental permits and things like
Right.
that. So it's hard to say. I think if you took kind of general assembly, it's easily 1,500.
Hmm. Good, good. Yeah, I asked a, design bureau owner a couple of years ago why he started doing EMS stuff. He said that's where the money is. He said
Yeah,
design is all right, but
sure.
there's
Well,
money in EMS.
yeah, and among the PC board world, there's there are plenty of PC board shops that make boards and do fabrication, and I'm sorry, they make boards and they do brokering, and they also do assembly, whether that's in-house or maybe they outsource it, or they have marketing tie-ups with assembly shops. Um, and but we've seen some board shops that have had tremendous growth in their assembly business, and of course, there's plenty of others that say, no, we're not doing any assembly at all.
Hmm.
That we do not want we do not want to compete with our customers in any way. So there's sort of two different strategies there.
Right. Are the tariffs, this whole back and forth that we've got with China, is that settling down or?
Yeah, it's definitely settling down, and we're kind of getting used to the current reality. And what everybody wants is just consistency. Because what if they know what the tariff rate is and it's not going to change, well, they can deal with it one way or another. The problem definitely last year was no one was sure what the tariffs were going to be, and then it kept changing every week or so.
Right.
So, and that kind of calmed down halfway through or so of last year. So I think, and like 24 was a component shortage, and then 25 you had the tariffs, and this year it seems like everybody's kind of recovering from that whole
Right.
sort of chaos that was going on, and they can focus on what's really important.
Right.
whatever that might be, customers, CapEx, technology, and so on. And for sure, the whole tariff situation definitely had a dampening effect on mergers and acquisitions.
Hmm. As you look ahead, are there any mergers coming up here?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're super busy, and we're currently working on deals in both the PC board world and the EMS world, both things that we're selling and both on deals where we're representing buyers.
Hmm.
And so we're seeing a lot of activity. Other folks that we know who are involved in M&A advisory in the sector are working on deals as well.
Hmm.
So I mean, one of the other factors that I didn't mention earlier was the conflict in Iran,
Hmm.
which maybe we have resolution now. We'll see.
Right, right.
That statement might be dated by sunset today, but yeah, uh, you know, as long as we have, I mean, there's enough chaos in the world without additional chaos
Right.
to cause us to, think about other things. So I truly feel that if in general the chaos out of Washington recedes, and they continue to focus on reshoring efforts, and defense budgets continue to be strong. Both EMS and bareboard sectors are going to do extremely well
Hmm.
in general, and that'll be the biggest boost to M&A activity.
Do you work with any semiconductor or any other companies outside the sector?
Yeah, sure. PC board EMS tends to be about half of what we do, and then we're also involved in like IT services and equipment and other things as well. And semi in the past we've done things that are semiconductor or electronics distribution related. And of course we're open to those sectors as well.
Hmm. So is now a good time to consider buying a PCB, fab or assembly shop? If you were
Well,
looking to do that, would it?
yeah, I would think so. On the seller side, an awful lot of owners are, at or past retirement age,
Hmm.
um, and based on the trends in the industry, as far as the macroeconomic sort of reshoring and strong defense and data markets. Those trends are all pretty favorable. Also, there's just so much private equity money out there, and the SBA, the Small Business Association, is making loans. They've got the rules and everything, but they are making loans, and so I think that overall there are a lot of good trends. Of course, we never know how long it's going to last.
Hmm.
And part of the problem of these sectors growing is that it's harder and harder to find people in manufacturing, from the bottom to the top.
Right.
So that I don't think that trend is going to go away. So
Hmm.
it's never 100% rosy, but I think in
Right.
general, the overall trends for these sectors is pretty good.
So you would say that you're bullish on PCB manufacturing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And for sure, the PC board world with, finer lines in space and, and tighter technologies, and, going to more digital technologies, is approaching semiconductor more and more. And so, the two will always be connected. I think in the semiconductor world, the biggest trend over the last 20 years or so is the rise in fabless companies, and no startup these days is thinking, well, we're going to build our own fab. So semiconductor is, one way or another at the mercy of the big fabs like TSMC and so on. And so, but that's something that they have to deal with. Plus, I mean, with AI and design, I mean, the jury is still totally out on how much AI is going to influence, both semiconductor design and, software programming that powers the semiconductors. But it'll be really fascinating to see what comes out of that trend.
Is there anything you'd like to mention? Anything that we haven't talked about?
Well, if you are an owner in the space or an owner of any business, how should you prepare? And, absolutely, our best clients are the ones that are prepared. And so, whether you contact us or engage us to work on the deal or not, I would implore owners to do their own research and to get prepared. And my God, it is so easy to go on any sort of AI platform and just type in, how do I sell my business?
Mm-hmm.
And there's just there's a 10,000 years worth of knowledge in there,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it's weird, but most of it is pretty darn good. And so if you try it 2 or 3 times with different platforms, and learn about who's the team, how do you prepare, what kind of documents buyers want to see. What kind of issues do buyers have with your business? Because it's your pretty little baby, but to somebody else, it's not. It's an ugly baby.
Right.
Right? So, so just to know, what some of the pitfalls are, some of the deal killers, and how to get prepared. And it's so easy. And people just never do it. And it's just astounding to me.
Well, if anybody has any questions, I know they can find you. GP
Sure.
Ventures, you're
Mhm.
online, and I know we see you at all the trade shows. Well, it's been great talking with you, Tom. I'm sure
Likewise, Andy,
I'm sure I'll meet you. I'll probably see you at PCB West.
for sure. I'll definitely be there.
Okay. And once again, for PCEA, I've been speaking with Tom Kastner. I'm Andy Shaughnessy. Thanks for listening.